Jordan Morris is here. He is the co-author but creator, singularly, of Bubble, the graphic novel. The graphic novel. How are you, Jordan?
I'm good, thanks. And yes, you got the attribution correct. I am the co-writer of the Bubble graphic novel with Sarah Morgan, art by Tony Cliff, and I am the creator and co-writer of the podcast. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
me. Hi.
Colorist Natalie Reese, right?
Of course, yeah. Natalie Reese did a beautiful job on those colors. So
And
yeah, that's the team.
I've often been, the promoter of a good colorist in a comic book. I think it makes a big difference. So, hats off, Natalie.
Yeah, absolutely. Natalie did such a good job. Her contribution was so surprising and so delightful. Bubble, for people who don't know, is it's a sci-fi comedy, and it is set in a world where people live in these domed cities where that kind of look like modern cities. There's a hipster one, there's a suburban one, but kind of outside there's this alien landscape filled with monsters and poisonous plants and all this stuff. And when Natalie sent back her colors, they were so psychedelic and pastel, and it is not something I envisioned when I was thinking about what it looks like in my head, but like it's perfect, and I can't imagine the book any other way. It's really cool. I think comics nerds will understand this parallel. It is Jack Kirby-esque. It is definitely kind of it seems like inspired by kind of like psychedelic 60s cosmic adventure comics. So yeah, I was so happy with it, and Tony's art is so beautiful. So yeah, it's a nice looking book.
It really is a nice looking book, and it's a fantastic story. You better tell us quickly about the inception of it. In novels the past 100 years or so, aliens, yes, we've seen a lot. But what's your personal history with aliens?
Yes, never seen one. Hope to someday. I just hang out in cornfields waiting to be abducted. No, yeah, it's the story kind of started with the kind of observation or kind of something that I was seeing in my peers, like how much struggle we go through to live in like hip cities. I would love to hear what the Australian parallels are, but in America there's LA and New York and Brooklyn and Portland and all these places with like great coffee and art scenes and stuff like that, but they're increasingly expensive. You have to live in terrible apartments if you're not a rich person. So yeah, I was kind of like that was kind of the germ of the idea, is kind of like seeing friends go through all this hassle to live in cool cities, and just kind of thinking about what the sci-fi version of that was. And our version is you live in this little bubble, but it's controlled by a potentially evil corporation, and outside there's monsters, and there's a gig economy you can belong to where you kill those monsters, but also you may die yourself. So yeah, it's it's kind of the germ of the idea was, the struggle we all go through to be close to, good coffee and indie bookstores. And it kind of widened out from there.
Yes, it's expensive to be a hipster, and getting more expensive all the time.
Oh yeah.
I just wonder when the hipster economy will collapse and everyone will just go back to flannel shirts, and I don't know. But look, it probably won't happen. Look, my history with aliens is a little bit different, and I now live next to what we call a paddock. You might call a field.
Okay.
And we recently moved here, but for 40 years, I also lived next to a field. And I always imagine aliens will just turn up at the most, you won't be expecting it. You won't be ready.
Like, of course,
you won't have your T-shirt quite on, or you won't be ready. And they always have this fantasy of looking out into the fields that I've lived next to, and then the alien ship just comes down, they step out, they start vaporizing cows, and it's just such, it's just such a, a sudden thing. And also in your comic book, the monsters turning up, very much a sudden thing, quite frightening. It's, your heroes aren't really expecting it a lot of the times. And then the aliens, just arrive and start eating people. And, I love that bit. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it's that's kind of how the story starts. It is a character kind of running through a familiar situation. It's our main character, Morgan, who was kind of raised outside the dome in this kind of harsh wilderness, and raised to be this killing machine, but then he's kind of retreated inside the bubble to live this kind of quiet, kind of boring life. And kind of the story starts, and she is just kind of running through the city, and you were kind of seeing all these like hipster stereotypes and kind of getting a feel for what kind of place she's in, and then just out of nowhere, alien attack. And yeah, it's a fairly normal thing in our world. By ours, I mean the world of Bubble. But yeah, so just like it's just one of the things that you have to put up with if you want to. If you want to live in the dome, it's the occasional alien attack. So yeah, it happens kind of suddenly, and nobody is that surprised.
No, well, 200 million spent on Eternals. What do you think you could bring in a Bubble movie at, Jordan?
I don't know. Good question. I have not seen Eternals yet,
not going to be cheap, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, right. I'm working on a Bubble movie right now. So,
oh my God, I didn't know.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be an animated, animated feature, and I do not know how much they would like it to cost. So, I'm not above my pay grade. Yeah.
Any of our comedy friends going to be in it?
I don't know. We have not talked about the cast yet, actually. We're kind of still in the writing and development phase. So I imagine that will come later and probably be mainly the job of the producers and director. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, right now it's kind of in the writing and development phase.
You're not going to stamp your little feet and say, John Hodgman.
Hey, I would love Hodgman to be involved. He would obviously do a killer job. They would be lucky to have him. So yes, I will definitely make my suggestions, and John Hodgman will definitely be one of those suggestions.
And Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh yeah, it'd be great to have Kumail involved. Yeah, absolutely. Great dude, hilarious guy.
Yes, he's fantastic. So the Bubble book came from the Bubble podcast, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the Bubble podcast I have limited experience with, although I'm really enjoying it. I'm catching up now. Do you think it's like a radio play? And do you know the history of radio plays in the UK? Like, has that been an influence on you wanting to do, Bubble podcast as like a radio play, or do you know nothing about that?
So, my co-writer on the book and my kind of co-collaborator on the podcast was a great writer named Sarah Morgan from the UK. And, as a UK-based comedy writer, that's a lot of her work. A lot of her work is in kind of radio sitcoms. So she was, in addition to just being a hilarious person and a great storyteller, she knew a lot about kind of the audioification of a script. So yeah, she was a huge help in that. So no, I actually don't listen. I think there are a lot of like American comedy nerds who, find semi-legal ways to listen to all that great British comedy. That's not something that I do on the reg. I definitely listen to some of Sarah's shows that she's been a part of, and they're really funny. But no, it was not a world I knew too much about. But I think Sarah was our little link to that world.
Yeah, it's gosh, it's a really big thing over there. Comedy, if you think comedy is huge in America, I mean, it's just kachunga in the UK. And,
totally.
I'm glad Sarah was there to hold your hand through that, because the production on the podcast is fantastic. I'm glad you sort of didn't bring in a narrator. That would be how would we explain visual stuff, and all that sort of thing. But it's absolutely perfect. And how did you go pulling the podcast together? Are you a guy who likes to ask lots of your friends for favors?
Yeah, I mean, definitely everybody involved in the podcast was doing us a solid. I should say that everybody got paid. Everybody who wrote on the podcast, everybody who did a voice, editors, directors, they did not get they did not get paid their normal day rate. They were doing it basically as a favor. But I think it was great that Max Fun, the company that produced the podcast, kind of stepped up and made sure that everybody at least got a little something for their time and talent, because definitely in the world of digital stuff that isn't relegated by unions, sometimes people don't get paid. So it was nice that everybody got a little bit. But yeah, everybody involved was basically a pal. There aren't too many people involved in Bubble that I had not met before. But yeah, everybody was either a kind of a comedy friend of mine, or a kind of member of the Maximum Fun extended creative person family. And we definitely got a lot of great people. There's people who have legit TV credits. Cristela Alonso, who was one of the in addition to being an actor, a non-voice actor, is one of the voice actors from the Cars movies, and Allison Becker is from Parks and Rec, Mike Mitchell from The Birthday Boys and Love on Netflix, Keith Powell from 30 Rock, gosh darn 30 Rock. So yeah, we had a lot of awesome people like being really, really hilarious, and getting paid a pittance, but I'm glad people actually got a little something for their trouble.
Yes, well, they obviously like you, and they like the concept, and they wanted to be involved. So it's a credit to you.
Yeah. No, it was fun. I hope everybody had a really fun time doing it, and it was a fun thing to be a part of. Because I sure loved making it.
So this is the cover. I'm just for the people watching the video.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cover to look out for. And I used an evil corporation to read Bubble on my phone, which was great for me, because when I was had a few spare minutes, I could flick through a few pages, and it was very cool. But you've been out and about. You've been finding Bubble in the world, and your Instagram in particular has got a lot of pictures of you finding Bubble out there. Your people are loving it, right?
Yeah, because of health and safety issues. I'm sure listeners know which ones I'm talking about. We couldn't do book signings or book events or anything like that. We had some, kind of virtual events that were really, really fun. But as far as getting out there and signing people's books, it just wasn't something we were able to do in a traditional way. So yeah, I think to, supplement that, I'm just finding cool bookstores that I like. And, if I happen to be in the area, I'll stop by and sign all of their bubbles. And, I'm not exactly sure when this will come out, but for the next couple weeks, a bookstore here in LA called Book Soup is running a special where if people want to order through their site, I will come in and sign and personalize them. So if you wanted a signed, personalized one for holidays, they ship anywhere too. So the Australia audience can get one shipped. Booksoup.com is their website. And if you click on signed, you can get a personalized one that way. But yeah, that's just as kind of a way to promote the book and stoke out some bookstores that I like. I'm trying to pop in and sign people's books when I can. So yeah, if you want a signed copy, they're certainly out there.
And it's always exciting to see Jordan Morris out in real life. I can't imagine what that would be like. It'd be like,
it'd be a thrill for everyone involved, I'm sure.
All sorts of nerdy questions like, how did you know it was time to slip in something comedic into the story? You'll answer for Sarah, I guess. as well? You know, how do you know to be a bit more earnest and to be a bit more comedic, or did you just because it's quite sitcom-y in bits, you know, and very funny.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's nice of you to say. I definitely like. Yeah, I think Sarah and I are both just like joke writers primarily, you know, like we both have a lot of experience in like late night. So, you know, our kind of training is to just like kind of find a place for a joke and stick it in there. Yeah, you know, and I hope Bubble has some like quieter moments and more dramatic moments. And you know, I don't want people to think it's like Spaceballs, which, you know, obviously I love Spaceballs. Who doesn't? But yeah, I think we wanted our story to be a little more well-rounded. So I think that, yeah, I think we really wanted it to be funny. But I think there are some, you know, we wanted to like give the characters their due and, you know, make sure that they appear as real, you know, fleshed out people with inner lives. So yeah, I don't know if we talked explicitly about should a joke go here, should it not, but yeah, I don't know. I think the unsatisfying answer is just something you kind of feel out, you know. Yeah. If it feels inappropriate to make a joke, maybe it is, and you know, but also if a section is feeling kind of dry or exposition-y, maybe try and put something funny in there. So yeah, it's I don't have a great answer to that other than you know, it's just kind of a thing that everybody navigates themselves. And yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, obviously, like I don't know what the readers' experiences have been. I don't know if they've, you know, they're like, oh, this is too jokey, or you know, this is too boring and dry. But hopefully we struck a nice balance.
Not at all. I sort of imagine it's sometimes when they're, you know, quiet moments when they're just, you know, being jokey. I mean, it's a bit like one of those podcasts, like say Alison Rosen.
Yeah,
is your new best friend, where there's a bigger cast, you know, 4 or 6
right.
people, a comedy Bang Bang or something like that, and all you guys start to, you know, you get very jokey. It's not like when you're talking about your personal life or anything like that.
Right.
Talking about podcasts, brings us around to Jordan Jesse Go, which you guys promote as a very silly show, and it certainly is, but God, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's been going a long time.
Yes.
So people are obviously loving it, right? Jesse, not a natural performer way back then. How did you guys get around to doing a podcast?
Oh, you know, so Jesse, I should say, my podcast co-host over there on Jordan Jesse Go, and the kind of owner and operator of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network.
He's so wealthy.
Huh?
He is so wealthy. We imagine.
Yes. Who knows? I have not looked at his bank account, but yeah. So you know, so Jesse, I think a lot of people know. So he has another. In addition to our podcast, which is just a silly chat show, it is very podcast 1.0. It is 2 dudes and a guest shooting the shit for 90 minutes and then we leave. Yeah. So his other, you know, the thing that people probably know him best for as the host of a NPR interview show called Bullseye. And, you know, and those are like certainly like fun, chatty interviews, but they can be really serious. And sometimes they are with, you know, kind of more serious pop culture people. And, you know, I think NPR, at least over here, you know, has a reputation of being kind of like dry and stuffy. So yeah, I think maybe if you know him primarily from that show, you kind of think of him as, you know, maybe a stuffy NPR guy. But yeah, but he's, you know, he went to like a performing arts high school, and we did sketch comedy and improv together in college. So yeah, so he definitely is a guy who's done a lot of like comedy in his day, who, you know, I think kind of you know, leaned into this NPR interview show that's a little more serious. But yeah, he's got a ton of comedy experience and is a really funny guy. So
great. And have you ever had any like breaks with Jordan Jesse Go, or has it just been the one long run?
Yeah, not really. I think that we in the beginning, I mean, we didn't make money at it for a long, long time. So we definitely just kind of did it because we loved it for a while. And when that was the case, it was a little bit more occasional, or it was a little bit more like, we'll do it when we feel like it, or we'll do it when, we have the time, and we'll take a little break if we were busy. But yeah, now we do it. We do it once a week, because it's a little, because there are people who support it. Max Fun is a kind of a donor supported operation. So, so I think that, once that became the case, we started doing it, weekly. But yeah, we pretty much been doing it consistently since we've started, with the occasional like holiday break, or in the early days sometimes we just didn't do it because we didn't feel like it. But yeah, I mean, it's been very consistent. It's been a really consistent, fun part of my week for a long time.
It's a great show, and as people who don't know Jesse being funny, he's very funny on the show.
Yeah, he's a hilarious dude.
It's a good time, and if you're a sort of person who just likes spending time with funny people, it's one to add to your podcast feed. So let me ask you a question, like you're a young pop star who's only done like 3 things. What's coming up next? We know that the animated movie, are we calling it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and go. Yeah, so yeah, I'm working on that. Obviously, it is still in the early phases, and movies, especially animated ones, take a long time. So no need to pre-purchase tickets for that yet. But yeah, I'm working on another book. For First Second, the company that published the Bubble graphic novel. It'll be called Youth Group. It is a YA horror comedy about teenage exorcists. And I am doing that with a great artist and writer named Bowen McGurty. She does a great series called The Spectre Inspectors that maybe comics fans have been enjoying lately. She's just a great creator, a wonderful artist. And yeah, she's been so fun to work with. I think it's going to be a really cool, fun, weird book. If you like, and it's set in the 90s too, so there'll be a little 90s nostalgia for any 90s kids out there. It's been a really fun process. I really love doing comics, and hope to keep doing them for as long as I can.
Yes, I'm going to ask you a comics nerds question in a minute, but
please.
What was your favorite 3 bands of the 90s? And we'll get to know you so much more by that information from 30 years ago, because you probably haven't changed that much.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, I was a big like punk and ska kid in the 90s. I grew up in, Orange County, California, where all of that stuff, or there was a very like, active scene of that stuff. So yeah.
Did you mosh? Can I ask you?
I moshed.
Oh my God.
Stage dived.
What?
Yeah. Got in there, mixed it up.
Jordan, you got to be careful. Well,
I know. You're a kid. You think you're invincible. I certainly don't do it anymore. I just, when I go to see a band, I just like stand in the back and
stand at the back is a place for guys like us. Even though
just nod.
I'm older than you, I want to say.
I nod along. So yeah, I loved, like Green Day and Rancid and the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and
they're all good ones.
Yeah, definitely. There's some of that stuff that is still like so much fun to listen to these days. So yeah, that was definitely my scene in the 90s. I don't think there's going to be much reference to that in Youth Group, but maybe a little Easter egg or two.
Yeah, sure. Oh, well, I was more, I must have been depressed because I was more Radiohead, Muse.
Yeah, that was its own little.
I touched
scene.
Upon most of the Brit pop bands, and they didn't stay with me very much. So I guess more British stuff for me, but there wasn't much that I didn't imbibe back then. So we're talking about a comic book, graphic novel, if you like, but I didn't ask you about comic books at all. So what ones do you like?
Oh, yeah. So these days, what have I been enjoying? I, like every right-thinking reader, I am loving Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. It's kind of on my mind because it's they took a little hiatus and it's coming back. If people don't read Saga, it's a great first comic or a great, like, I haven't read comics in a long time and want to pick it back up again. It is a kind of funny but very dramatic in places sci-fi fantasy adventure about two kind of combatants from opposite sides of a war, one side that is more Star Wars techno, another side that is a little more magic Lord of the Rings, and they are star-crossed lovers and run off to raise their hybrid baby together, and adventures ensue. It's great. There is a great series called Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. I know the title is off-putting. It's a little tough to read in public, but it's a great kind of fantasy comedy series about people who have the power to stop time when they have sex. So then they use that power to rob banks, and it kind of goes from there. Hence, Sex Criminals. But it's really funny. I mean, certainly not for kids. I'm sure you could gather that. But it's great, and just a great kind of like dive into the world of modern sexual politics in a really, really fun and humane way. But if you have a kid you're looking for a comic for, I will do a hard pivot and recommend Chunky, a great kids book called Chunky that I recently read by Yehudi Mercado, who is a great artist and writer. And this is a really fun story. It's kind of an autobiographical story. It is it's kind of the author's childhood with a little bit of magic thrown in. It's about him and his imaginary friend, who's kind of his imaginary mascot. The story starts with his doctor telling him that he should watch his weight and exercise because of some health problems. And it kind of is about him trying to find sports and things he loves with this imaginary mascot cheering him on the whole time. It's a really just funny, cute, big-hearted story, and Yehudi's one of my faves. He's a great creator, and definitely if you have kids, he's got a lot of great stuff for kids.
Great, Rex, Jordan. And did you have an imaginary friend growing up?
I didn't. I wish I did. I wish I had tried a little harder to cook one up. But
I had one for a short period of time.
Oh yeah, what was their name?
I can remember
Chuck.
his name. Charlie. It was actually
right. Chuck to his friends.
It also had a stuffed animal with the same name, so I think it was the name. But I don't know how long it lasted, but it became upsetting even to me as a sort of 7-year-old. I didn't know the words mental and health sorted together, but I thought, I'm getting a very grey mental health area here. I need to stop this. And then I did. I don't know what that says about me.
You're a very practical child, it sounds like.
Going back to comics and amusing comics or comics with comedy in them, do you care or like Alan Moore?
I do like Alan Moore, and kind of a neat thing that I've discovered, because my last name is Morris and my co-writer's name is Morgan. Oftentimes, you will find Bubble next to Alan Moore in the bookstore. Wow. So yeah, hopefully we can just maybe get some people picking it up by mistake because they think it's a sequel to the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh gosh, one day he will die, and it'll be sad.
Yeah, Alan Moore, I comics people obviously know, but for comics casuals, he wrote Watchmen, which I think a lot of people consider to be the, greatest comic book of all time, and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Tom Strong and all these great weird books that kind of like unpack the psychological stuff behind comic book characters in a really fun way. And has turned into a kind of reclusive crank who criticizes the industry in occasional interviews and in just a really like fun way. I don't know if I think I definitely like am a big Alan Moore fan. I don't know if he's come out with like a bad take or something recently. So I apologize if I'm recommending somebody who's had a bad take, but I don't think he has. I think he's a lovable crank at this point.
He's look, just to use that terrible term woke, he's a pretty woke dude. And, he's on board with all of the good things that we want to change about society, you and I. And have you investigated his Miracle Man?
No, people. I need to. It's been on my list for a while. You like it?
I really love it. I mean, he's only did the first 17 or 19 or something like that, and then Neil Gaiman took over. So he's certainly no slouch. Sure,
yeah, that sounds fun. No, I'll definitely check that out. That's a great. It
isn't fun.
but
it's great.
Sometimes Alan Moore comics are not fun.
A lot of the time they are fun. Look, let's wrap this up in a neat little bow. If you want to get Bubble, Books Soup sounds like a good place to get it from. You can get your personalized Jordan Morris message in there, but also just get it anywhere. If you have to read it on your phone, please do. I had no trouble. It has we both aren't going to know the technology where you tap the word bubble and it comes up. But anyway, look, you can read it very easily on your phone, and it's so much fun. Listen to the podcast too, because I didn't know if I was going to like it, because I don't traditionally like radio plays. But this was fantastic. I mean, it had me captured right from the start.
Oh, good. It's nice of you to say. Thank you.
And we'll say thanks so much, Jordan Morris, for your time. And next time you do something, we'll talk to you again and spruik the hell out of it, because you're a great writer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was fun. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm pausing.